Well, former Monty Python star John Cleese says if he were offered a show on the BBC, he would definitely turn it down, given he'd probably be cancelled or would say the wrong things. Anyway, someone else who he's now got a show, by the way, on GB News in Britain, which is pretty exciting. Another man who would definitely get cancelled if he popped up on the BBC is Alex Stein, but he's never cancelled. He's right here, right now. Alex, great to see you. And now listen, is the world now so absurd that news stations have to look for comedians to make sense of what is going on? You're a comedian, John Cleese is a comedian. Is this the way of the future, that only the comedians actually make any sense?
Well, honest to God, I really have to applaud Sky News because, Ramesh, some of the topics he was just talking about wouldn't be allowed on any of the mainstream channels in America, I believe. But I think it does. It takes the court gestures by saying that you're a comedian or having the comedian label. It gives you a little more leeway to call out the hypocrisy or just the absurdness of the current reality in which we live in. So, yeah, I think we need comedians. I think we need voices that aren't afraid to push the limits. And it's guys like, John Cleese that they have to kind of regurgitate, who's 83 years old and, God bless his soul. It's because comedy has become so politically correct. They don't know what to do. They don't know which well to go to find water. So they're going to one of the oldest wells. And I wish him luck. And because of the Overton window, him saying that, I don't think boys should be able to compete against biological women in sports, you're considered a right-wing bigot. So basically everybody is right-wing considered to these loony lefties.
Well, that's interesting because John Cleese always says he was a traditional liberal, meaning a traditional lefty, though liberal and lefty are pretty interchangeable, unfortunately, often in Australia these days. But he says he's grown increasingly apolitical. Is this kind of show how far the left has lurched, that he's now, as you say, back in the centre-right where he considered himself a lefty?
Well, yeah, and I would say most people, you grow up when they say sharing is caring. So in a way, when the younger you are, I feel like the more liberal we are, the more we want to share. But let me just tell you something. In the conservative side of things here in America, conservatives want a lot of the same values as the liberal leftists. It's just when it comes to these weird social issues, like the idea of gender reassignment surgery for children, the idea of spending all this money, at least here in America, spending more money in the Ukraine than spending it on a wall between Texas and Mexico, when we have drug trafficking problems, sex trafficking problems. So what I'm trying to say is most of us have a populist mindset and we all kind of meet in the middle, but it's the government that divides us and gives us the labels. And obviously, this, that makes us a target of, the left or the right.
Now, tell us, Alex, about you look like you should have a nice brandy there with the fire going and the piano in the background, though I noticed the piano chair hasn't moved since last week. Nobody's been practicing. But you could actually have a giant spliff there because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have now said anyone who's convicted of a marijuana thing, no jail for them. How is this being greeted wildly in the streets of Texas and surely California and New York, but how's tell us.
No, Rowan, this is the biggest scam that Joe Biden has done yet. There's not even very many people locked up for federal nonviolent drug offenses because drug offenses don't go to the federal level. They all stay in the state level. So it's all a joke. He's not even letting anybody out. And if you look at Kamala Harris, she dated, the mayor Willie Brown. She was also in a throuple with Montel Williams. So while at the same time being the district attorney, locking up over 2,000 people for nonviolent drug offenses. So they're all hypocrites. She also went on the radio and said how she, continuously smoked marijuana in college. So all of these politicians are hypocrites. They're trying to appease people by legalizing marijuana. And honestly, with all the alcohol and all the fentanyl, I would say marijuana is probably a safer option than a lot of the options out there. But regardless of your opinion on that, this is all a scam, and it's not even helping out people. And I want to make this last point. Here in America, we've had this war on drugs. And just like the war in Vietnam, just like the war in the Middle East, the war on drugs, we are losing tremendously. Drugs are winning. So we need to figure out a better way in order to help citizens because we've had over 108,000 drug overdose deaths. So we need to do something to actually solve this problem instead of just doing fake things like letting people out of jail.
Here's your homework, Alex. Next week, you'll have the answer for us. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
Thank you,
much.
Rowan.
Thanks, mate.